The TV is on low. You sit on the edge of the couch. They are 3 feet away. Yet the silence between you feels like an ocean. You share something small, a fleeting worry, and they glance at their phone, nod, and say it sounds rough. But the weight in your chest drops heavier. Why does this keep happening? Is this just what love looks like now? Do I still matter? Or have I just become background noise? Am I the problem here? You are not losing them to distance. You are watching self-protection take the wheel. The relationship didn't get harder because the love faded. It got harder because safety quietly left the room first. You are not failing at love. This is not proof you chose the wrong person. Every couple that has ever loved deeply stands exactly where you are. By the end of this, you will finally see what happens beneath their calm exterior, why they step back the moment you lean in, and exactly how to hold space without chasing. Let's get into it. Most couples believe a partner who pulls away is emotionally unavailable, thinking the distance means the care is gone. But the real truth is something much softer. When safety leaves a relationship, the love doesn't disappear. It goes underground. Your partner's nervous system is reading your emotional tone long before their mind can catch up. What looks like stonewalling is usually someone who has been overwhelmed for so long that silence is the only protection they have left. They learned early that needing people meant getting hurt, so independence became armor. You keep asking for more closeness and explain your needs clearly, but every gentle push only tightens their internal alarm. Trying harder without changing the emotional tone makes them retreat deeper. Not louder conversations, not stricter boundaries, not scheduling weekly check-ins, but 2 people who finally feel safe enough to drop their defenses. When you understand withdrawal as a panic response dressed in calm, everything shifts. You stop fighting for attention. You start rebuilding trust. And that foundation changes how they breathe around you. Here's the part no one talks about. First, consider the myth of effortless independence. Most couples mistake quiet self-sufficiency for emotional strength, assuming the partner who needs nothing is simply secure. But the dismissive inner world operates on an old survival script where vulnerability equals abandonment in their nervous system. Longing gets buried under routines and achievements because the brain learns that asking for support triggers deep shame. So they build a fortress and become architects of their own isolation. Picture a Friday evening after a heavy week when you mention feeling drained. The disconnecting version says, "I'm fine, just need an hour alone." And you feel the door close. But the connecting version sets the keys down, breathes slower, and says, "Actually, I need to process this with someone I trust. Can you sit with me?" Something in him is quietly saying, "She actually wants to hold my weight." This isn't a communication hack. This is just what an emotionally mature person naturally does when they stop equating neediness with failure. And when you practice this shift, your partner stops feeling like a project to fix and starts feeling like a person to come home to. Here's where it gets really interesting. Second, look at the pressure valve of silent accumulation. Most people in relationships believe conflict is the true enemy of intimacy, expecting a loud argument to signal trouble. But the avoidant nervous system treats friction like a threat. Small frustrations stack quietly in the background as they swallow the discomfort and avoid the tension, not to be perfect, but to keep the peace and prevent panic. When pressure builds, it has nowhere to go but inward, and that's when walls rise up. Intimacy isn't built in the grand gestures. It's built in the 30-second windows where someone chooses honesty over comfort. Imagine a Tuesday night over unwashed dishes. The disconnecting response sounds like, "I'll handle it. Let's not make it a thing." And you hear the sigh and feel the drift begin. But the connecting response looks up slowly, pauses the task, and says, "I notice we're both holding tension. I don't want to pretend it's gone." Her brain is quietly registering, "He's choosing us over the fight." And when you do that, the cycle of quiet resentment finally breaks. This is where it gets really interesting. Third, understand the paradox of closeness as contagion. Most couples interpret sudden distance as fading affection, assuming love should always feel seamless. But emotional intimacy triggers a physiological calibration for the avoidant brain. When two people turn toward each other, oxytocin flows. Yet that same chemical surge can feel like a leash because closeness sounds a survival alarm. The mind whispers that merging means erasing yourself, so they step back to find their own center. They don't pull away to punish you, they retreat to regulate themselves. Picture a weekend trip by the water, when you reach for their hand on the path. The disconnecting version slips their arm free and jokes about needing room, leaving you with the sting of rejection. But the connecting version turns gently, takes a slow breath, and says, "I love being close. I just need 20 minutes alone to reset, then I'm all yours." What's moving through her is, "He knows his limits without leaving me behind." That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. Here's the part no one talks about. Fourth, recognize the hidden currency of micro-repairs. Most couples wait for marathon conversations to feel secure again, thinking healing requires a major breakthrough. But real safety is woven into tiny moments. Dismissive patterns don't heal